What is up, gamers? The Red Dragon here. So, I know everybody's wanting to know which console I plan on picking up. And as I've said before on multiple occasions, I find that both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One offer unique advantages over the other. And as a gamer who loves games more than any name brand, I have every intention of buying both a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One. But money is certainly an issue, and there's no way that I can afford to buy both at launch. I mean, that would just be way too much strain on my finances, especially when you consider you gotta buy the console, then you pay to get online, and of course buying games. That's a lot of money. So at the end of the day, I did have to choose one console to buy this holiday season. But as I have tried to stress these past few weeks, I wholeheartedly believe there is not one console that is, quote, better than the other. I think everyone has to look at what each console has to offer and evaluate what they're looking for and wanting in a console, and then come to the conclusion about which console is, quote, better for you. So what I'm looking for in a console may not be the same thing that you're looking for. And that doesn't mean that either one of us are wrong, okay? So without further ado, this was my thought process for selecting my next generation console. So I'll begin with the price point. The PlayStation 4 comes in at $399, which is $100 cheaper than the $499 Xbox One. I mean, that's obviously a huge plus for the PlayStation 4. But even though I'm watching my money, I realize that this is an investment, and that this console that I'm buying is probably going to last me for the next 7 to 10 years. At least I hope so, unless I have to do a warranty thing on it. So this is a long-term investment. So I don't mind paying a little extra for a console, but if I did pay extra for a console, that console would have to prove that it would be worth that extra money. So price really wasn't a huge factor for me going into this. As far as launch games go, when it comes to exclusives, neither console really blows me away with their lineup of games. I mean, the PlayStation 4 has Killzone, which looks absolutely stunning. But, I mean, as far as shooters go, I would prefer to play Battlefield 4 because I like vehicles, I like big battles, and you can get that on both consoles. Rise on the Xbox One looks somewhat interesting to me simply because I like Gladiator. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time. But I'm not a big fan of button mashers, so I'm not even sure that that could hold my interest or attention for very long. Titanfall is the only game that really stands out to me, but I've already got a PC that can play Titanfall whenever it comes out. So again, we're coming into a section that really didn't have a whole lot of impact on my decision. Both Sony and Microsoft have delivered great exclusives in the past, so I don't really think you can go wrong when it comes to the games. You just have to go by what game styles you like, what genres you prefer, and what studios you like. So at the end of the day, both systems are going to have great games. When it comes to hardware, virtually all experts agree that the PlayStation 4 is the more powerful machine. And much has been made about the RAM inside the PS4, and almost everybody agrees that ultimately games will look better on the PlayStation 4, especially in the long run. But just as we saw with this last generation, the best graphical games are going to shine on the exclusive titles. And virtually all gaming studios that, make multi-platform games, they'll tell you that they always build for the weakest system and then port it over. And that it doesn't make financial sense for them to spend more time and money paying developers to make one look prettier than the other. Now, we may have instances where people do that, and they do invest in that. But overall, as far as looking at this current gen and what developers usually say, that's the way it's been. And I know that much has been made about the fact that PS4 has more 1080p 60 frame per second games than the Xbox One. PlayStation 4 definitely has an advantage when it comes to this debate, but it's also clear that the Xbox One is also fully capable of 1080p 60 frame per second games. Several games have already been announced, so I'm not concerned with either console at this point. The last generation, we saw games looking much better at the end of the generation versus the launch games that were released. So both systems are going to improve graphically over time. And that sounds really weird to people who don't, I guess, game, because usually if you buy a product, it usually deteriorates and gets worse over time. But actually with consoles, it's funny because they actually get better as far as the software, the graphical capabilities go. And if you listen to what the developers are saying, I was reading an article from the Need for Speed developers, and which is, by the way, native 1080p on both consoles, and they were asked which console was easier to develop for, and their response was, ask me in a couple of years, because they said that both platforms have their quirks, and it's going to take time to sort all that out. But considering that both can achieve 1080p 60 frames per second, I'm not concerned that either console is going to be outdated anytime soon. But if you're looking for the system that is more likely to give you the better looking games in the long run, then you should probably go with PlayStation 4. But considering the fact that I'm moving from PC to consoles, I'm already choosing to downgrade in graphics. And if you followed me for a while, then you've heard me say and talk about for years the fact that some of the best games I've ever played had bad graphics, and some of the best looking games I've ever played wasn't fun. So to me personally, graphics aren't my end-all be-all or my #1 priority. You might actually remember before Battlefield 3 released on the console, I made a video saying that I would much rather have way dumbed down graphics and have more players that you could play with for the action on screen. I mean, for me, that was what was more important. Moving on to features, both consoles have a lot of the same features. You got party chat, live streaming. The new controllers have offered huge improvements from everything I've read. I've heard a lot of people say that the PlayStation 4 controller is one of the best controllers they've ever held in their hand. And that is awesome news. But there's a few features I think that stand out for me with each console. One, multiplayer. I buy the majority of my games for multiplayer. So this is an important area for me. And with Microsoft offering developers free access to dedicated servers, I think that's a big ordeal, not just for my gaming experience, but also for developers so they can focus more on developing the games. The PlayStation Network is also getting a big upgrade, and I think the online experience is going to be completely fine. I mean, hell, if you're already playing on the PlayStation 3 network and you're having a good, smooth time, then it's only going to get better. So I'm not really worried about either one. But whenever you start looking at the overall picture, it seems like Xbox has invested more energy into their online features because you've got dedicated servers, you've got smart matchmaking, and you've got a reputation system that is supposed to keep the trolls away. But whether that works or not, it will be left up to see how that actually pans out. Moving on to some, I guess, non-game features. There's a number of gamers who boot up their system. They have a console for the sole purpose of playing games. They don't care nothing about the user interface, music, apps. If it doesn't involve sitting down with a controller playing a game, they don't care anything about it. And again, that is completely fine. Everybody has their own preferences. Much has been made about the TV features for the Xbox One. I think it's awesome that you can say a channel's name and it jump to that channel. But this feature is completely useless to me. Why? Because I canceled my TV back in July. So I actually watch all my entertainment on the internet. So I don't have a cable box to even plug into an Xbox. But at the same time, that also means that my console is the only device plugged into my TV. And like, for instance, right now, I'm using my Xbox 360 more for my entertainment than actually playing games on it. Because recently I've been playing more games on the PC, and then I'll jump on the console at night, just lay back on the couch and watch videos on YouTube, or they've got different apps where you can watch documentaries and stuff, which I like watching all the boring stuff that everybody else hates. So I can understand why people would have no use for this feature. But for my current situation, my console is more than a gaming machine. It's an entertainment device that encompasses much more than games. And I reported back last year that people are spending more time overall on the Xbox 360 watching media than actually gaming online. So there's a huge population that consumes other media. And so I think that's why Xbox made no shame in promoting the fact that it's an entertainment device, because they know a lot of families actually want that, but a lot of people don't. So, you know, it's a gamble. Do more people want it than don't? We're going to find out. But we also have to remember that Microsoft isn't just competing with Sony. They're also competing against Google and Apple. So the entertainment aspect of the Xbox One has to be strong. And in this area, I do feel like Xbox One has an advantage. You do have to pay, though, to get access to these apps, which sucks. So you have to go through a paywall just to have access to the apps. But once you do get past the paywall, there's simply a lot more entertainment choices to select from. And a lot of these apps offer you free movies and entertainment. So I also like the fact that the Xbox One can run multiple apps, and you can snap them in your game so that you can do two things at once. So I know that in between multiplayer matches, like if I'm playing a game on the Xbox, for instance, usually I flip around and I'll go browse the internet while I'm waiting on the next match to start up. So I usually sit here in my computer chair sometimes if I'm doing that. And so to be able to sit on my couch and be able to do that, check everything, pull my Twitter or Facebook up, pull up a video walkthrough if I get stuck in a campaign area, you know, I actually like that feature that you can snap and have two apps running at the same time. When it comes to Kinect, this is the one peripheral that has received more hate than any other device. It's the reason a lot of people will not be picking up an Xbox One ever. And I can completely understand that. Like I said, so many people have no interest, no need to have any of this. The first Kinect was a complete letdown when it came to capabilities. I actually won a Kinect from a contest, and I bet I used it probably 5 times before unplugging it for forever. But with Kinect 2, it's a gamble. It may pay off. It may be a bust just like the current gen Kinect. But from the videos I've seen, from the reviews I've read, I think it's a gamble that has big risk, but also the biggest potential payoff. And I know that both the PS camera and the Kinect feature like voice commands, facial recognition, and motion controls, but if you read about the features like being able to see in the dark or having an IR blaster, the Kinect is by far the more capable device. And I'm already reading reviews about the voice commands on the PlayStation 4 and about them being fairly limited. They said currently no third-party apps like Netflix is currently taking advantage of voice commands or anything to do with the camera. So I think that the Kinect, because it is packaged in with every device, is just simply going to be used more. And it's going to be used more in games because, like, for instance, it's already being shown. Almost all Xbox One games is going to incorporate Kinect in some form or fashion. And, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of those are going to be great or even used. You know, who knows? They may not be used whatsoever. But the developers are definitely at least developing for the device. On the PlayStation 4 side, if you read the Ultimate FAQ, they were asked which games are going to support the PlayStation camera, and the only thing they listed was the Playroom demo that comes on the PlayStation 4. And again, a lot of people will be drawn to the PlayStation 4 because it doesn't have a camera or because, you know, they're not focusing on it so much. And again, that's perfectly fine. As far as I'm concerned, I think the Kinect could totally be next gen, but that remains to be seen. And I could be completely wrong, but I think it definitely has more potential of being incorporated simply because it is in every package and developers are already using it. And we're already hearing about some features like Battlefield 4 is going to be implementing lean and head tracking and voice commands using the Kinect. And I don't know why the PlayStation 4 camera isn't doing this also, because I would think that it can, because head tracking is on War Thunder, they announced, but I haven't seen anything about these features on the PlayStation 4. And the only thing that I could reason in my mind is that it just didn't make sense for them to program all that because so few people are going to have a PlayStation camera. But watching the videos that I've seen with Kinect, especially just like using it to navigate around, it just seems extremely useful to me. So at the end of the day, I wanted to go with the console that was going to give me the most features. And that was what was important to me. And everyone is completely different. You have your needs, your preferences, I have mine. And it's entirely subjective. And you can watch 10 other videos where people are telling you why the PlayStation 4 is better for them than the Xbox. And they would be completely right, because it's their opinion. You know, for some, resolution and hardware is the most important aspects. For others, it's features and navigation and other media. For others, it's about the games and the exclusives. For me, it was like everything put together. And I just cannot stress enough, though, I don't care which console you buy, or if you buy one at all. But no matter what your choice is, I sincerely hope that you enjoy the living hell out of it. I'm a gamer, period, and I like video games. I have every intention of picking up a PlayStation 4 because the PlayStation 4 has some great exclusives, as well as a lot of free-to-play games. And let's not forget that the PlayStation 4 also gives you a lot of free games that you can get as long as you're a PlayStation Plus member. And for some, that is the selling point for the PlayStation 4. So like I said, everybody's completely different. And at the end of the day, there is no, quote, better console. There's only a console that is better for you. That does it for me, The Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.